At the end of season 4, we were happy to congratulate South Dakota for signing constitutional carry into law. And here at the beginning of season 5, I am happy to welcome Oklahoma into the constitutional carry club. Congratulations, Oklahoma. Enjoy those freedoms. And I'm hoping very soon to welcome Kentucky into the constitutional carry club as well, as soon as Matt Bevin signs that bill that is on his desk already. On the downside, Facebook took down one of my episodes from last season, citing that I had used copyrighted material. You can still find it on YouTube. But on the plus side, the new owner of 2A News approached me to provide weekly content for his site, which is supposed to be up and running in a few weeks. So look for articles by me coming from that site. And now to talk about something that is kind of trendy now in gun control circles, namely extreme risk protection orders or red flag laws. Now, I was conflicted about red flag laws because I believe that these should be in responsible hands and not the abusive or the criminally minded or the unstable. Now, while the apparent goal of these laws in trying to address these problems is rather commendable, the means with which they want to go about doing it is rather disagreeable, particularly the disregard for due process. And this brings up something that President Trump said earlier on. Now, for all the good that I think he has done for this country so far, I did not care for this particular remark.
Do exactly what you're saying, but take the guns first, go through due process second.
Now, that's enough for me to oppose red flag laws right then and there. But then I came across an analysis of a bill that's making its way through Colorado's assembly, which made me dislike red flag laws even more. The first thing Kopel and Greenlee mention in their analysis are the lowered standards required to put an ERPO into effect. Now, the bill's title reads Extreme Risk Protection Order, but the bill's language mentions only significant risk. Compared to temporary restraining orders, an ERPO does not have to prove that an imminent danger exists. Then there's damage done to the reputation of a person. If the ERPO is being requested by law enforcement, then by law, they must notify third parties that are related to the respondent. That includes employers, churches, neighbors, schools, and so on. Even if the temporary order is withdrawn, the damage is done. And that's not all of it. A respondent's CCW license becomes invalid upon the issuance of an ERPO. And if it is withdrawn, tough luck. You've got to go through the application process all over again with the attendant fees and so on. Another difference between restraining orders and ERPOs is who can take custody of the respondent's firearms. Now, under restraining orders, a much broader range of private parties can take custody of the firearms, but under an ERPO, it can only be surrendered to federal firearms licensees or law enforcement. There's also the question of when the respondent can get his firearms back. No timeline is specified. And all this on top of due process concerns. This is also bothersome. The bill that is making its way through Colorado's legislature only mentions firearms. It doesn't mention other dangerous objects such as knives, hammers, screwdrivers, or chemicals, or anything else that can be used to seriously injure or kill. You would think that if the situation is so dire that these objects would be taken into account as well. But Colorado's ERPO bill is not unique in that regard. Apparently, all red flag laws just target gun ownership. Since domestic violence is oftentimes brought up to garner support for ERPOs, I was curious as to exactly what sorts of objects are used in domestic violence situations, and I found this study from 2004. Now, it deals specifically with the state of California and seems to be geared towards advocating gun control, seeing that it is funded by an organization that makes gun control advocacy a priority. And so it tends to downplay certain other things that it finds out about domestic violence situations. Namely, only a third of domestic violence victims reported that a gun was used against them to harm them, whether it be a handgun or a long gun. What this tells me is that guns are not the root of the problem there. But what about suicide? Only half of the suicides committed in this country are done so with guns. And as I have pointed out many times before, the overwhelming number of gun owners do not commit suicide with their guns. Again, why aren't ERPOs written out of concern for what an at-risk person might do with other objects? And what was wrong with provisions that were already in place? Okay. I'm going to call this like I see it. Red flag laws are a gun control enthusiast's dream come true, with lowered arbitrary standards and a disregard for civil rights, all in the interest of pursuing their dreams of a nation without civilian gun ownership. And this is purely speculation on my part. It would not surprise me if these laws were used as a sort of legal precedent to help lower the threshold for the state to confiscate guns. So the next time a gun control enthusiast says to you, "We don't want to take your guns," ask them, "Oh yeah, well, what do red flag laws do? What do ERPOs do?" But more importantly, ask them, what are the ramifications for civil rights that they present?